It's Nick Paro and Frederick Pogue coming at you with an emergency Wizards Council. There was a shooting at Fort Stewart in Georgia let me pull up the article from their local reporting so we have it correct. This was very recent reporting. There were 5 soldiers who were shot on Wednesday in an active shooter incident in the 2nd Armored Brigade combat team in Fort Stewart. The soldiers were treated on site and they've been moved to the Wynn Army Community Hospital. There's one person in custody and there's now no longer an active shooter threat to the community, which is good. They didn't put any information out about who the shooter was. They didn't identify anything about that person, which you can come to your own conclusions on what that might mean, as to why they might not identify who the shooter was. But at the same time, it's also equally not fucking important who the shooter is.
Not really.
It's about the victims and it's about the people who were impacted by this and their families. And um, and and that's it. It's not about the shooter. But it is about the gun problem too. That's part of why I asked Fred to come on. It's because there's a
It's,
fucking gun problem in this
yeah,
country. Um,
there has been for a really long time. It's funny. It's so back in the day, about 10 years ago, 12 years ago now, when I first started writing for a little stint, I wrote for the Daily Banter. And the thing that I had a moment where I got like sort of national prominence, right? Where I was just like in the gun conversation for a hot second.
yeah,
And what I did was, I don't know if you remember it. I can't remember the guy's name, but I think Trump may have eventually pardoned him. He was a firearms instructor I think it was in Florida, somewhere in Florida. And he was a retired
yeah,
police officer, firearms instructor. He went to a movie theater by himself, um, got into an argument with a gentleman and his wife. And it escalated to where the guy dumped a bucket of popcorn on the guy's head. And so this firearms instructor, this former police officer, pulled his gun and shot the guy and the wife, right? Like just right there in the theater because the guy dumped a bucket. Like they were arguing about something. He dumped a bucket of popcorn on his head, bang, bang. Right. And I wrote about an incident I had when, I was like staunch Second Amendment. I had just gotten out of the Marine Reserves. I bought a pistol, a 9mm Ruger, on a kitchen table sale, which was legal in Tennessee. I bought it for like $75, right? Wanted to own a firearm. And I put it underneath the seat of my car, right? And like my driver's seat. And I was coming home one day. I was driving through Johnson City, Tennessee, and they have these overpasses, which, they got the concrete railings on the side with the metal, sort of guardrails on top of them. And I was crossing over one, and I see out of the corner of my eye this car swerving towards me, right, about to collide with me. I was in the right lane. This car's in the left lane. I jerked the wheel and was, a hair from hitting this concrete guardrail, right? And I'm I just worked like a 16-hour shift at the airport throwing bags. I'm exhausted, but now my adrenaline's up. My heart's pumping 1,000 miles a minute. I'm looking around and I look over and I see these dipshit teenagers in the car laughing at me, and they swerve again to try to hit me, but I didn't move this time. And then at that point, all I saw was red. And
mm,
I I
mm-hmm,
re- I put my knees up to steady the steering wheel. I was on a straightaway. I reached down. Because I'm a Marine, I don't have my weapon at condition. There's not one in the chamber. I
yeah,
pulled up that Ruger and clack clack, and I was ready to fire, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to blow up my window. So I start rolling out my window. And one of the kids in the back saw me, was like, oh God. They take off. And I started taking off after them.
Mm,
And it wasn't until I got about 2 miles down the road at about 100 miles an hour following these kids that finally this dull scream in the back of my brain was like, what the hell are you doing?
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Come home to my wife at the time. I'm shaking. I tell her, like, you can't have this gun in the car anymore. You got to take the pistol out.
No, I
And
get that.
eventually I sold it. Like I sold it like a couple months later. And, it's like, and I had all kinds of responses to the gun nuts. It's like
Hmm.
I wasn't mentally capable of carrying a firearm, or they put your life in danger, so it would have been a good shoot, and all this crap, right?
Hmm.
But the fact remained, they were just some dumb teenage kids, right?
Yeah.
And if it had been had not been for a slow power window, I would have put rounds in that car.
Yep.
You know, because and it happened like that. They were messing
Yeah.
around, and they put my life in danger, right? But they were messing around, or you know, this police chief that I wrote about at the time, former police chief, former police officer, firearms instructor, got a bucket of popcorn dumped on his head and smoked two people,
Mhm.
husband and wife, right there in the booth.
Firearm instructor.
Firearm instructor.
Someone you should be able to trust with a fucking firearm to know to do the right things at the right times all the time with that weapon.
And the title of the piece I wrote for the banter was "The Myth of the Good Guy with a Gun."
There is no good guy with a gun.
There isn't a good guy with a gun. Period. I'm a trained Marine. Um, I'm a trained former Marine. I've handled firearms my whole life. I
Mhm.
grew up a Southerner, right? I was taught, like, to respect firearms. You never point at anybody, you never mess around. That was reinforced in the Marine Corps. I was
And
almost
if you point a gun at someone, you're going to shoot them. Like that's the
right.
point.
That's it. That's intent.
That's it.
And so the thing is, like, what gets missed in this conversation, and the same thing, I don't know. It always boils down to the specifics, right?
Yeah.
As if, oh, well, this shooting isn't enough for us to have the whole conversation yet.
Mm. But
It's
it
not
has to
enough
be. It has to be.
oh well,
Sometime it fucking has to be.
it
Like,
was it was maybe it was a soldier, and then he was, so it's that's not every gun person, or maybe it was this, so that's not every gun owner, Fred. And it's like, yeah, but how many cases have you seen of somebody who's supposed to be the good guy, or someone who's
hmm
supposed to understand what a damage a firearm can do,
and abuses it.
and there it goes, because we're all humans, and we're all, angered, right?
Yeah.
We're all prone. So, and this is for the people that have a spouse, right? Or, like, whether you're married, you have a significant other, whatever. At one time, you've looked at this person and you said to yourself, I love this person so much. I would never, ever do anything to hurt them. But then stress got to you. You're having a rough patch, going through something, and you yelled at that person. You called them a name. You hurt them. You didn't mean to. Maybe you felt bad afterwards, right? But I'm demonstrating that I'm saying that is because we are all capable of anger. All of us are. Oh, I would never do that I would be responsible. Until you're not,
hmm Until
you
you're
know.
not. And like I'm a trained soldier. I was in the army. I'm from Vermont. I'm grew up in a town with very few people. Like I learned how to handle guns at a young age. I learned how to properly handle weapons. I learned one of the first pistols I ever shot was a fucking Magnum, a 44 Magnum, and I did blew my arm back. And my dad was like, "Yep, now you know how to fucking shoot that." He's like,
Yeah.
"Now you know what it feels like. Don't ever do it. You're too young." But we trained on weapons and how to use them properly. And it was always, if you, you only ever use that weapon if you're going to use it. Like if you're
Yeah.
pulling it out, you're going to use it, and there needs to be a reason for it. And the only good reason is hunting or self-defense. But there it comes down to is self-defense. Like that self-defense, yeah, that's a good excuse to own a weapon
Right.
like a shotgun or a pistol for self-defense at home, but that's not a fucking good excuse to then be able to go carry it in public. Like we don't need people walking around with concealed carry or fucking open carry of any sort. E- and and this is coming from a soldier, and this is why I want to say this too, is I don't give a shit about the guy who shot the soldiers today. There were 5 soldiers who were shot at Fort Stewart. He shot whoever that person was is an asshole and deserves whatever is coming to them for a prison sentence or if they're still around. Like they say they were apprehended, which means they're going to jail. This
Mhm.
person is going to suffer consequences for their actions, but they're not going to suffer consequences in the terms of others preventing it, or there's no preventative measure that comes out of this. This is where our laws have failed us at this point, and where
Yeah.
our legislators have failed us is because they've decided that if there's a fire, if there's an incident, it's, oh, we gotta have thoughts and prayers and we can't talk about it and we can't make it political. But
Mhm.
now's the fucking time to be political about it. And if you're for any form of gun reform, this person could have had a pistol, they could have had a AR-15, they could have had a shotgun, they could have had whatever. They could have had a long gun. It doesn't matter. All of them, all of them right now have become a culture of death
Mhm.
around them. And we need to address that because we don't talk about school shootings. We don't talk about kids dying. We don't talk about soldiers dying anymore. We just go thoughts and fucking prayers. Well, fuck your thoughts and prayers.
Well, and part of this is a big part of this is exactly how every other industry with corporate America and the Republicans especially fund this crap, right? So I'll give you, so when I was organizing back 2012, 2014 in Tennessee, there was a law that was coming up on in Tennessee where you like they wanted people like they want the NRA pushed to put forth not citizens, right? The NRA pushed to where you could carry a firearm in your car to work. Okay. Think of the problems with that. Okay. You
Mhm.
know, okay. The Tennessee Chamber of Commerce, which represents business interests, were like, no, that's technically private property. If the business says you cannot carry a firearm on our private property, uh-uh.
Mhm.
There was a woman who she was one of the more reasonable Republicans when they used to have those,
Yeah,
back in
when
like
they were.
10 years ago. This is before Marsha Blackburn and the crazies and all this stuff. Where
This was like Bush era.
yeah, the Tennessee legislature is a freaking mess now because of it, right? So
Yeah.
this is kind of the start of that.
Yeah.
She had up to that point, like the gun rights thing, the report card they had, top marks, right?
Mhm.
But she said, "I'm going to support the Chamber of Commerce on this video or on this issue because I believe in private property." Right? Okay, that's a conservative stance to take, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So she's getting primaried that year. She'd been in the state legislature for like 20 years. She's like the number 3 person. Think of her like the Liz Cheney in the Tennessee state legislature. Okay. NRA says, "Oh, no, no, right? We're not like too bad. We're going to primary you." So they put up this guy to run against her. Now, Tennesseans who were in the NRA at the time told the NRA, "Stay out of this.
Mhm.
We like this woman, right? This is not the issue we want to die on. Don't put all this outside money in here into our state and in this race." They ended up putting in $2 million in a state rep race in Tennessee on a primary for Republicans. She lost by like half a percentage point. And they put that guy in there. And there were people so mad, they lifetime NRA members pushed like called in their memberships. There's
Good.
a big thing about it. And so the point is like the NRA has long stopped representing the rights of gun owners, has long stopped representing common sense gun laws, which is what they were founded on.
Yeah.
When it first came into being, it was to teach people proper shooting techniques and for common sense gun regulation.
When I was a kid, I believe it was the gun. I was a Boy Scout, and we had a great Boy Scout troop. Like my dad was part of it. I grew up. My brother's an Eagle Scout. I was a Life Scout. I stopped because I was doing too many other things. I didn't have time to do an Eagle Scout project. And like we learned how to shoot, and the shooting trips that we did, the when we went to the ranges, the NRA was part of it. They sponsored like training and teaching us how to properly handle and store firearms.
I
It
shot
wasn't
the
a
I, same. I shot in the Boy Scouts.
Yeah, it
You
wasn't a
know,
political thing. It was just here. This is how you shoot. This is how you shoot properly. This is how you store a weapon properly.
I
And
learned
that
how to
was it.
shoot. I learned how to shoot clay targets with a shotgun. I learned
Mhm.
how to. We had a musket loaded, you know, rifle. I learned how to shoot. I
Oh,
learned how
one
to
of the
shoot
old
that.
school black powder
Yeah, it's
musket
like yeah,
rifles.
they
Oh
brought
yeah.
that out. It was a replica,
Hmm.
right? So, and the barrel was rifled, so it's like we learned how to shoot a musket, like a breech loading musket.
Yeah.
So we learned how to shoot that. We learned how I shot a double barrel shotgun. I shot multiple
Yeah.
revolvers, snub nosed, and regular 38 standard. I shot 45, a 9 mil,
It's
right?
where I learned how to shoot a 22, pistol
Absolutely.
and both pistol and long gun. And then I learned uh, up from a 22. And like the Boy Scouts and the NRA weren't a bad thing when we were kids.
No,
Like
they
they were
shot.
just
They
an organization.
like it was. It would. The fathers would come out with. In the Boy Scouts, it's like my dad came out there, right? And it was just, and you had everybody's looking on, and they're teaching proper gun safety. We're shooting on a firing range. You get tons of classes about how you handle it, right? And what I was
Hmm.
more nervous about is you like when you first started shooting because you didn't line up like you were in the Marine Corps. It was like one boy at a time because so it's like you're coming up there and all eyes are on you. That you're like, oh man, am I gonna make a mistake and do this
Yeah.
improperly?
Yeah. Am I going to
And
look dumb?
yeah, am I gonna look dumb? And you had like we had 22 rifle competitions.
Hmm.
We had air pellet competitions,
Yeah. We
right?
had paintball guns. We had
Yeah.
airsoft guns. Like we had all the things. We learned how to shoot. We learned archery, like all of the all of these things. But the core of it was we learned safety. Like we
What
learned
it
how to safely handle these things.
At no time would any one of my dads at that time, before Fox News and all this other stuff, right, say,
Hmm.
"Well, I deserve to carry a 45 into the 7-Eleven
Nope. No, they're all like we put our guns in
in
safes.
a
We
gun
lock them
safe."
up. And you know what?
Yeah.
There wasn't a whole bunch of too people taking fucking pictures of themselves and
No.
with their children holding weapons.
They would
Like
have thought
they
you were a lunatic. Like
Yeah,
you would have
people
been a
would have been like,
lunatic.
"What the fuck is wrong with you? You look stupid."
Are you a Vietnam veteran that needs like that would have been the stereotype. Like, are you a war
Yeah.
veteran or are you more likely stolen valor pretending to be
Mhm.
a tough guy to pretending to be Rambo,
Yeah.
right? You know, because I met a lot of Vietnam veterans from that era when I was a kid that worked in government and came over to the house. And I'm telling you right now, they weren't gun nuts for a
Mm.
reason,
No,
you know.
a lot of veterans aren't. There's a lot of veterans who come out who are advocates for gun safety and gun reform in a lot of ways because, one, the gun culture in America isn't safe. There is no
No,
safety
no,
involved. When was
it's
the
a
last
joke.
time you when was the last time you heard a commercial about safely storing a firearm or getting, if you have a pistol, about getting a trigger lock, or how do you properly install a safe into your house for weapons? How do you properly install, say, if you are going to have a weapon in your nightstand? How do you properly store that weapon in a safe that you're not going to get into in the middle of the night and shoot your partner with? Like,
Or your kids
how do you,
won't go in
or
there.
your kids, or your, yeah, like, and we, we don't, nobody talks about that. Nobody,
No,
no politicians don't talk about safety anymore. They just go thoughts and prayers and we're going to move on. Well, too fucking bad. I'm not moving on. We're
and
going to
that's
talk about
honestly
this.
that's why I stopped talking about it. And I'm partly like I used that was my you know my friend Bob Steska when I was at the Daily Banter. Uh, my other buddy Ches Pazienza, God rest his soul. He wrote about the fetishization of guns in America.
Hmm.
Back like 10 years ago, and Bob always made a good point. You have to go through more of a background check to get a note on a car
Yeah.
or a mortgage than you do to buy a
Yeah.
firearm.
Yeah.
Like,
Why?
why are gun shows a thing where you just,
We
I
we have
never
to
should
get
have been able to buy a firearm over a kitchen table.
no, gun shows are ridiculous. I grew up
Yeah.
having and going to gun shows, and I think they're ridiculous, especially now. Like
Yeah.
you walk into a gun show, you don't know who the fuck that person is, and if they're going to do a background check or not. No, they're not. They're not going to do a full background check. Half these people, they're just going to. They want to sell you their gun, and
And
that
that's
was
it
the
right
thing is
there.
they just want to sell you and make money, or they just want to see what they can pawn off or trade with you. Maybe they want to upgrade to a different weapon. And that was a big thing. That's a big thing at gun shows is people trading weapons to get different ones. So that like if you're a collector, that is an understandable reason to have certain weaponry. Like
Yeah.
collecting, or because you cherish that item and maybe your family was, say, part of the Winchester family, let's say. So you own Winchesters, but you've taken them apart and you've stored them on your wall in different parts, and you showcase them, or you safely store them when you have them in your house, but you don't go around making it your whole fucking personality. It's their personality now is the problem.
It's
Like guns are
Jesus.
personnel. It's so
It,
stupid.
it's because gun manufacturers have done the same stuff in this right wing, Bubba bro culture of this toxic masculinity and sold them on this like, you know, I see these AR-15 Bushmasters with all the, with the handles and stuff. People want to cosplay like they're freaking operators, you know,
Hmm.
in Mogadishu or wherever the hell, and it's just like, oh yeah, come after my family. It's like one of your kids is much more likely now to kill themselves in your home
Hmm.
versus an intruder. You two as adults are much more likely to commit suicide now that you have that firearm in your house.
Yeah.
It's just so one
The
of the things
number
I
one
wrote,
leading cause of death of children in America is firearms.
right. And again, we care about kids. We want to restrict women so much. We want to do all this yada yada yada. But yet the major cause of what's killing kids today, unless
We're not
RFK gets
addressing at
yeah,
all.
unless RFK gets his way and he brings back all these childhood diseases.
Oh yeah.
So
Make measles great again.
yeah, exactly. So
Fucking
I
nut.
I I did it like again back then. I did this research on Australia had one mass shooting, one. I think it was in
And then they
Tasmania.
outlawed everything.
They outlawed it. They said nope, no more. When that happened, gun violence dropped dramatically. Dramatically. I mean, we're talking
Yeah.
75, 80%. And here was another interesting statistic. Suicides dropped by a third after that. They dropped by a third. Why? Because for people that are in a bad place, it is much like they reach for a gun. Because here's the thing, everybody understands what it's like to cut yourself, right?
Hmm.
Everybody's cut themselves at some point, whether it's a paper cut or it's you're cooking food and you cut yourself with a knife, or something. You've cut yourself. You know that pain. So you think about picking up a knife and, ending it all, or, slicing your wrist, whatever. That pain hits you. That memory's like, I don't know if I want to feel that. How many of us have been shot?
Very few.
Right. And so, so you think it's like the movies where it's like you put a gun to your head and then you pull the trigger and then the lights go out. It's like that may happen or
If you're
it may
lucky.
not. If you're
Yeah.
lucky.
If you're fucking lucky and you know how to shoot properly and you don't miss, like if the
Or
thing
if you're
is,
an idiot. And the other thing too is like, and this is where the movies and stuff get it all wrong and everything else is like, oh, I'll stick a gun in my mouth. It's like, okay. You do know the hardest part of your skull is right under your brain pan, which is the roof of your mouth, right?
yeah.
So, you do that, the bullet's got to go through the thickest part of your skull.
And
So,
not only that, they want to bring us back to say the fake 1950s ideal culture. Well, w- one of the leading causes of death in America at the time in the 50s was assisted suicide, basically, of your spouse killed you. Your wife typically killed you because she was so fed up with your dumbass and she was so tired of taking the lithium and the Valium and all the drugs, she killed you and herself.
yeah,
And we
bro.
want to talk about men dying. All of a sudden, men, let's go back to the 50s and see what fucking happens because women have guns now. Women have rights now.
Yeah,
You're
but
not going
I,
to
I,
take those.
I got to
But what
disagree with you there. I've been told by right wingers that women were happy back then, even though they couldn't.
were they?
That's what they
Oh,
said. That's what they say all the time. Even
yeah,
though they couldn't get
you're right.
they couldn't get a credit card, they couldn't
Or
get
a
a
house.
yeah, a mortgage or a lease on an apartment or a job, even though they worked during the war, and like basically made it to where we could win the war, and they couldn't get a bank
Rosie the
account.
Riveter, right?
Yeah, they couldn't get a bank account. And here's the thing too. Everyone says like I was like 76, I think it was, when women could finally get, when that passed where they didn't have to have a man sign for a credit card or mortgage or apartment. They were still being discriminated against into the 90s if they were a single mom.
Yeah,
And then they had to pass
still
another
are.
law to stop that, right?
Yeah.
And so I mean, if for those of you who were around in the 90s, you remember the show Murphy Brown when her character became a single mom and they talked about those single mom issues, right? And so it's like women who are divorced who now have a job and now are the primary parent of their kids, can't get a place to live because they're a single mom.
And
So
now we're going back. We're going back to all that shit. Like they want to take away women's right to vote. They want to take women's right to work. They want to take your right to do all the things. They want you to go back to that again. But we can't.
I don't want to go back. I can
I
barely
don't want
run
to
my
go
life.
back.
I don't want to run
Yeah.
women's lives. I can't run mine.
Yeah,
You
fuck
know,
that. I've got kids. I don't want to run anybody else's life.
I don't have kids. I'm not married, and I have a tough time filling out paperwork for myself. Like,
Yeah. Like
I don't want to run a woman's life. You know,
remembering to go to the doctor on my own is hard enough. Like I don't run my wife's life to tell her when she goes and does stuff or how to do things. You know what I do? I let that woman have a fucking life and I encourage her to go do amazing things. We gotten so off topic though because we got down this rabbit hole of the 50s, which is fine because
but here's
I
the
don't want to
messed
go
up
back
part.
in time where women are going to start shooting their husbands at home because
Even in
now
the
there's guns
50s,
everywhere.
even in the 1950s, you couldn't own the firearms you could own now. It
Yeah.
was illegal.
Yeah, back
You
then
know,
there weren't shootings like there would be
no,
now.
because it was illegal. You weren't allowed to own the firearms that we have access to today.
Yeah,
And they were around back then. There were Thompson machine guns. There were all these things that
but they
you
were
could buy.
illegal as fuck.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, you wanted to have a Thompson machine gun? You literally had to submit to a background check with the FBI.
Yeah,
And you had to give a reason for why you needed it or wanted it. Usually it was because you were a collector. And then you had to demonstrate that you were not going to use it, that it was going to be, like there were all these just to get a Thompson, right? And
yeah.
now they got these jackasses that are like, oh, I got a 50 cal freaking, you know, quad gun platform. You go out in Las Vegas desert and shoot it. Yuck, yuck, yuck. It's like, yeah, you know what, there, champ. Why don't you go join the U.S. Army? You can go shoot all the big guns you want.
Yeah.
I was in the Marine
Yeah.
Corps. I shot the Mark 19. I shot a freaking
Oh, the
mortar.
Mark 19 is my fucking favorite.
It is pretty dope. I ain't gonna
I
lie.
love the Mark 19. I got to shoot that
Lay it down, ain't gonna be
quite a
nothing
few
left.
times.
You lay that
Uh,
thing down, ain't gonna be nothing left.
oh my God, it's so fun. It's a little, just for people who don't know, it's a little mini semi-automatic or fully automatic grenade launcher. And
Yep.
it's fucking awesome.
It
But
appear
you
it
can't own one in the US for a reason. There
no.
are gun laws that prevent you. You're not allowed to own that because that's a weapon of war. But then we decided that nor weapons of war, because we've been through 20 fucking years of war now, and plus in America, we forget straight. I mean, there's almost been not a time in my entire 35 years of life where we have not been in some sort of war or conflict. Like we're always at war. And that's the thing is that sells gun and it's make guns more prevalent because now we've decided that, like you said, people want the AR that they can customize and look like Rambo with, I fucking shot those. Like they're fun if you
Or
want to shoot them.
I'm Ghost from the video game, whatever.
Yeah. Or
Like I'm an operator. I'm an
I'm
operator. It's like you
Keanu
ain't an operator,
Reeves.
man.
Like,
You
yeah,
know,
like I'm John Wick fucking handling a firearm. Like Keanu Reeves is good as shit at a weapon, but you know what he does? He does it safely. He trains on them and he doesn't show it off as a trophy to him.
no.
It's just a thing he does. It's not his sole personality. Like that's one of the things that if you ever look at Keanu Reeves, he's a responsible gun owner because he knows how to handle them and then he stores them properly and then he doesn't fucking talk about them like it's his whole fucking personality in life. And we got to get people out of that because it's sick and it's prevalent and it's been brainwashed into people that the Second Amendment means that you can own all the guns in the world uninhibited for any reason, but you can't. Like you just can't. That's not what the Second Amendment says. It's not an unfiltered amount of weapons that you can have. There is a regulation, and it does have to do with a well-regulated militia.
I mean, I'll circle back to we talk about the women and the abuse, right?
Mhm.
When I was organizing in East Tennessee, this is so 2012, 2014. And I came across a surprising statistic because I was looking up stuff back then. It's like I'm organizing, got to have these talking points, got to educate yourself. Yeah, yeah. Tennessee was number one in domestic abuse. Number one with and I couldn't believe it at first. I was like, that can't be true. Come on, man. Like, one of the things that red states all talk about is, oh, look at all our crime. Oh, we're so low on crime. Oh, cities like Chicago and New York, oh, they got so much crime.
They don't.
So I called my buddy up, right? Who was a defense attorney at the time.
Yeah.
Anybody knows about criminals? It's my man. That's what he does for a living. So I call him up. I say, hey, man, I came across this statistic. It says Tennessee's number one in domestic violence. Is that true? He says, oh, yeah. Oh, it's true. So people get to, you get these guys get to drinking, you know, they beat their wives or they shoot them, right? About a week later, my wife at the time worked at WIC, Women, Infants, and Children, in Carter County, in the Carter County Health Department, right? There was a woman who was on WIC that she met that worked at McDonald's, right? She was, or no, she didn't work at McDonald's. She was going to McDonald's, right? She had just left her WIC appointment. My wife had just saw her. The husband, who was mad, showed up. She was in her car in the parking lot. Kids in the car eating a Happy Meal. Pulls a gun, smokes her right in front of the kids in broad daylight. My wife had just talked to her 30 minutes before. And that's the stuff besides the mass shootings that doesn't get talked about. That's And it's all these pervasive things. It is the patriarchy. It is this gun culture, this violence as part of masculinity that we are willing to allow. Like Sandy Hook should have been it. Sandy Hook should have been end of the conversation about like no.
Exactly.
We
Yeah,
can't
exactly.
that's it. But then what you have is you have Alex Jones talking about their crisis actors, right?
Yeah.
You know, they're crisis actors. It's all fake. And it took him like 10 years
It
to
took him till
finally,
last year.
yeah, 10 years or more to finally get there to where the the families, the parents of those little kids that got killed got some sense of justice. Now he's still on the air, but that's
Yeah.
why if you go to YouTube, you see all those commercials about, hey, this is so and so, Sandy Hook, da 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 da, you know, because
They're
that's
still
what they're
fighting
doing.
it.
That's what they're doing with the money.
Yeah.
Was they won from that what little bit they got, right?
Yeah.
And again, Las Vegas should have been the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
50 people dead, hundreds injured. You read those accounts, they sound like a freaking war zone.
And the thing is, that almost was. Las Vegas almost was the end of the conversation because it
Yeah.
did stop bump stocks for a while. But those are coming back. The problem is, isn't that we, the people, don't want reform in guns and gun ownership? Because if you poll the vast majority of Americans, the vast majority want reform. It's like something like 80% of Americans or some shit or higher want some form of reasonable gun reform for safety, for training, and for requirements that put some sort of kickback on the damage of like if where there's responsibility for the death toll.
Yeah.
And we don't have those conversations right now because they're still ongoing from fucking 10 years ago. Like you said, they should have been done, but they weren't. They never were because it always turned into either some fucking conspiracy theory because we trust stupid people on the internet with voices that are just loud and obnoxious, like Alex Jones, because he was a kind of trustworthy face already and a known quantity to them. And he just blew it up.
Yeah.
And he just blew it up. And we hit. Columbine should have been the fucking end of it.
I
To
mean,
be honest, I remember
there's so
Columbine
many
from when I
things.
was a kid. That was the first. That was the
That was the
first
first
big
one.
one. That was
And
the
and
first big one.
and then you look at like, like David Hogue and all those all the stuff they were
Hmm.
affected by and all these advocates and and it's
Or where was Uvalde in Texas? The where
Uvalde. Uvalde. Yeah,
where the
right.
kid where the fucking police officer stood outside for 11 fucking minutes and they had guns and they were like, yeah, we're scared to go in. No, that's your fucking job. You stood outside and let kids die.
I've worked in campus security, right? I I've gone through active shooter drills on the police side of the fence. I was security. I was, basically additional to them. I wasn't a cop. But the protocol is you go in because an active shooter is killing people. You
Yeah,
go in.
that's your job.
It's like that's everything you train for.
Yeah.
You go in because every second you're delaying, somebody's being killed. And here's the thing: I don't care if it makes it harder on you because you want to cosplay as Rambo. If it saves the lives of women and children and men,
Hmm.
I don't care if it's like, oh well, I can't own a Bushmaster. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't give a shit if you can on a Bushmaster because my kids' lives, those other kids' lives, like my kids have to do fucking active shooter drills at school.
That blows me away
I
because
didn't,
I don't
that
have
blows me
kids.
away. I didn't have to do that when I was a
We
kid.
didn't do. I mean, I think I was at the tail end of that dumb stuff where it's like we had the nuclear drills where you had to go sit on your desk. Like
Yeah, we didn't,
I had
like,
that in
that's gonna help.
elementary. Yeah, and I had that in elementary school in the 80s because I lived in Hawaii. So we
Yeah.
still kind of did that where they do the klaxon
Hmm.
and then you'd have to sit under your desk and like that false sense of security where it's just like, who's going to get the mutation powers, you or me? It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, but like we did like stupid drills. We did like we did regular drills that I thought were the end of it. It was like fire drills
Active shooter
or
drills. Active
they
shooter.
do active shooter drills. Our kids,
They do not have windows and doors anymore on classrooms because of active freaking shooters.
you know,
Those things, they're gone.
instead of solving the problems, what we've done is we've created a culture where our kids have to buy backpacks that are either see-through or fucking bulletproof.
They're Kevlar, right?
Like Kevlar, like they're literally selling backpacks for children that are bulletproof at this point.
I
That
wrote
is insane.
like when I was writing satire for the banter, right? I literally wrote,
Mhm.
it was like I think I called it something to the effect of like, you know, like machine guns for minors or something like that, right? And it was a joke about how the NRA was going to go to like schools and train kids to shoot back and how to handle like a small, like a saw gunner or a 60 a six,
Almost like a little
M16.
Alamo.
Yeah, like it's like they're gonna go through like, close quarters battle training, it's like little Timmy's gotta learn how to freaking take doors and all this other stuff. And it's like they're gonna hand out helmets and Kevlar. I was like, yeah, so each kid's gonna get their own Kevlar vest and da da da.
Well,
Years
here we are,
later,
Fred.
they have Kevlar backpacks.
Damn it, Fred. Damn it.
My fault.
You shouldn't have wished this into existence.
I did,
You,
and
you,
and it
you
was funny
brought it
'cause
into the universe.
and I'm sitting there like, they have Kevlar backpacks now. They're talking about giving teachers gun. Don't want to give teachers a raise. Don't want to hire more teachers for our
No, but we'll
kids.
give them a gun.
Well, give them a gun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And don't expect teachers to, teachers already have enough on their plates. It's not like teachers are trying to handle too many children in a classroom for the size of that class and for the number of teachers every single day. And guess what? I know what my kids are like. I know what my kids are like to other adults and in person, but I also know what other kids are like too. Like getting a bunch of kids together, it's a zoo. You're like herding fucking cats
Yeah.
and they all want to fight each other and they're not like gentle like tabby cats in the movies where you watch and they're all nice and gentle and they follow along in the line to the milk to the saucer. No, they fucking want they have swords and knives and they're using their claws on each other because children can be mean and vicious.
Yeah.
So you're expecting an adult who has had to go through years of school just to learn how to teach, to then now have to learn how to be a psychologist, a social worker, a firearms safety manager and instructor, basically, an active shooter prevention and a shield against shooters for children. Like we have asked teachers to put their lives at risk every single day and now make it even worse because we're like, oh, let's give teachers guns. Well, what happens when a teacher goes off? What happens if a kid gets that fucking gun? What happens
Other
if if somebody else in the building comes in and takes that gun and is now an active shooter threat because you put a fucking gun in the school? Instead of
why
solving the problem by getting the guns out, we gave kids backpacks and bulletproof doors.
right. And why do other countries that are on our socioeconomic level, they don't have these problems?
No, they don't.
They don't
Oh, I
they don't
wonder
have
fucking why.
they don't have they don't have the violence we have with guns. They don't have the bankruptcies with healthcare.
I
They
love the
don't.
argument though, is, oh, but in the UK they have so many stabbings. Okay, all right. Yeah, we can't
When's the last
ban
time you heard
knives.
of like you heard of 20 people dying in a mass stabbing?
Yeah, like that you're talking one person, maybe two if they're lucky. Like if they're really lucky, maybe they'll get more than two in a
I
stabbing.
remember
But it takes a lot to kill somebody in a stabbing. I know this because I've listened to Morbid enough, the podcast about people who die in random ways. By the way, if you've never listened to Morbid, they're a cool podcast. Those two ladies are fucking awesome. But it takes like 20 fucking stabs at minimum to do that normally. And
yeah.
who's got time to be stabbing 20 people 20 times? Like your
I mean,
arm's gonna get
it depends on
tired.
it depends on who it is. I'll make time. You know,
Yeah, I
like
mean,
yeah.
yeah,
But for me, it's like whoever it is, I'll make time. You
but
know,
like, but like, you're it's one or two people, and I know that's kind of callous, but I'd rather have one or two people hurt than 20 or 50
it's
or
not callous.
an
I remember
entire school of kids.
when I was so this is back 2012, right? I visited a friend in Melbourne, Australia. You know, took the trip. I was in grad school. Summer off, I go over there. At that time, she was like, "Oh man," like somebody was like, "Where are you staying?" And I told them. They said, "Oh, it's a dangerous area." I was like, "Okay, yeah, there's
Mhm.
somebody running around stabbing people." I was like, "Has
Okay.
anybody?" I was like, "Has anybody died?" And they're like, "Well, no, but there's like been 3 stabbings." I went, "Gasp!" Like I'm
Like,
I'm from the United States, man. Like you
yeah.
know, a stabbing
Whoa.
does as like they're like, yeah, but it's all over the news. I'm like, a stabbing doesn't make the news in America. It doesn't even make casual conversations in a checkout line. You
Yeah,
know?
you could be like, "Hey, man, I got stabbed like a couple weeks ago," and they'll be like, "Yeah, but I got shot."
Yeah. It's like I got dude, I mean, I remember getting gas at in LA, and one of the homeless guys came up to me and was like, show me his gunshot wounds. And I was like, hey, here you go, man. Here's $10. I was like, and he's 21 and he's just like, yeah, man, it messed me up. It's like, it's just like hit my liver and this and that. I was like, damn, you know, and
And I think that's something too people don't really know about firearms is when a bullet hits you is how it ricochets in your body.
oh God.
Is Um, and I want to make sure I know there's been a lot of chat going on in the chat thread, and I'm definitely not ignoring, and I hope y'all see us hearing and coming back on some of the points you're making. But we're not making light of any of, especially the guy like stabbing violence. Um, we're using it as an alternative example because that's what the right uses as their example is like, well, but they have stabbings. I'm like, yeah, but I'd rather have a stabbing than a shooting. To be to be 100 fucking % honest. Like we gotta be realistic about how we talk about this subject
Yeah.
because
I
it's
mean, if you're going to
so
have a
fucking
mass,
bad.
if you're going like mass stabbings used to happen when you had medieval battles, you got to get a
Yeah,
whole bunch of people, you know,
like, what are we gonna do? Have a LARPing event and people actually bring out swords? Yeah, then we have a mass stabbing. But that's a coordinated event. Typically, you gotta have like cavalry and people are trying really hard. Like
I
that ain't
want
gonna happen on the
and
spur of a moment.
so, and here's the argument I always put back with this, right? Because
Mhm.
I've been in this debate for a long, long, long time, and you know, well, yeah, then people will still try to kill each other. They'll still get knives. Okay,
Okay.
knives have other purposes, right? You use them in cooking. You use them in opening boxes. They're tools, right?
Mhm.
They're tools for a variety of things. Okay, a firearm is a tool for a singular purpose to kill something. That's it. You're not using a firearm to cook a steak. At least you
No,
shouldn't. You're not using a firearm to open a box. A firearm is a tool to kill something. That's
and
it.
that's it.
That's its only purpose. So my thing is, rather than, you hit people is like, well, yeah, okay, yeah, but might run over someone with a car. But that's not its purpose. So we're going
Yeah.
to outlaw cars. So you want to outlaw cars? No, because cars are freaking for something else. I'm trying to outlaw the thing whose singular purpose is killing someone. That's
Yep.
it. I want to regulate. I want to heavily regulate that.
And we're
Let's
not
at least start.
outlawing
Let's
car
start there.
ownership. Yeah,
Let's
like
start there.
we're not outlawing car ownership or things like that, or even talking about outlawing gun ownership. But what we are talking, what I, what could happen and is a really reasonable and simple thing is actually make registration required for firearms as a yearly thing in the same way we do cars and make it just as difficult to get registered for a car as it is to own a gun. Or even better, just as difficult to get as it is to get an abortion, it should be to get a gun.
Thank you. Or at least do this. Like how about we try regulating firearms like we did 30, 40 years ago, and
Yep.
let's see what it does. And you know what? Like, if suddenly stabbings go through the roof, we'll revisit that issue, but
Yeah.
let's compare it. Can we do that? Can we at least go back to the laws we had on the books before?
Yeah. And instead of saying, oh, well, because stabbings might rise in the
My
event of gun deaths going down, it's not a it's not a corollary event. Like just because one happens, the other isn't going to happen. It's not cause and effect. Just because we think it might doesn't mean we shouldn't do the other thing. Like
but
stabbings
the
might go up, but gun deaths will go down.
this is the trap you fall into when you argue with like the hardcore conservatives, right? Because their
Hmm.
ideology, this magical thinking is it's an all or nothing proposition. It's designed that way to
Yes.
to not budge on these issues, right? And so the conservative guy will come up to you and say, well, if you can't eliminate crime completely, then I have to have a gun to defend myself, which is complete lunacy, right?
Yeah.
Because what we're really talking about is harm reduction and harm mitigation. That's what we're talking about.
And
And
trust in government, to be totally honest.
right. And that the government is the entity because it's supposed to be representative of the people to
Yeah.
say, hey, we want our kids to be able to go into a safe school environment. Yeah. Okay. How do we do that? Well, we make it harder for people to own guns,
Yes.
you know? And the thing
Hmm.
is, like, well, back in the frontier days, they had laws in town where you couldn't open carry for a reason because
Yeah.
cowboys would get drunk and they'd shoot things up. And so what did lawmen do? They started banning firearms in town,
Hmm. Yeah.
you know?
And yes, the Second Amendment in the US is pretty clear. I'll read it just so that there's no mistake as to what it actually says, which is a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Doesn't say it can't be regulated.
Right.
Doesn't say it can't be controlled. It says it's infringed. That means they can't stop you from owning a gun, but they
Mhm.
can make it harder to get one because the point, or they can make it safer to own them or train you to own them so that you are safe in your handling of them. Because guess what? Before that, in the Constitution comes your right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and
Mhm.
freedom. And the idea that you have free speech, which means your free speech shouldn't be able to be silenced by somebody shooting you.
Yeah.
Because freedom of speech comes first, not the Second Amendment. Guess what? It's number two. It's
I'm
number
fine.
two.
Yeah.
Like it ain't number one. It came in second. It's the first loser. Like it's the first loser for a reason because number one is freedom of speech, which guarantees us the ability to criticize all this bullshit that is happening and tell the government how fucking wrong they are. Because the point of the government is to provide service. And one of those services is police and a force of internal security to serve and protect. It used to be on police cars, you'd see the slogan serve and protect. You don't really see that as much anymore because they're not really there to serve and protect us. They're there to serve and subjugate us,
Mhm.
or subjugate and not protect us. But it used to be a real thing. Like that's the trust that's been broken is we don't need individual firearm ownership. A well regulated militia is a key portion of the Second Amendment. It comes before the second part, which says the right of the people to keep and bear arms. First, it says a well regulated militia. That's how it's opening. That's how the Second Amendment opens, is a well regulated militia.
I mean, we
Because,
could we could do what they do everything else. We don't outlaw it, but we say, okay, you want to own an AR-15 Bushmaster? It's like, all right, you got to turn over all your documents of who you are to the federal government for a background check plus the state government. We can set there has to be a mandated place where you store that firearm, right? Not in your house, right? It has to be a mandated place in the public, and you have to pay for space. Plus, you have to pay for legal liability insurance in case that firearm's used against anybody, right?
Mhm.
And and so if anybody's shot with it, that particular firearm, or you shoot somebody with it, you have to pay you basically make it damn near unaffordable to have a certain type of firearm. You can have it legally,
Mhm.
you can
Yeah,
have
you
it,
just have
but
to
if
be
it
able to
costs
afford
you
all of it.
$40,000 a year to maintain having an AR-15,
You ain't gonna do it.
no. And so it's like, all right, but what can I have in my home? It's like, how about a shotgun? Pump action shotgun. There you go.
Yeah. Like, and the thing is, the first part of the Second Amendment clearly states a well-regulated militia. Well-regulated. The first fucking words are a well-regulated militia, which means regulations. There are regulations on it. Do you know what the well-regulated militia was? It's the National Guard. The
Yep.
well-regulated
That's
militia
how
is the National
National
fucking
Guard.
Guard. You know
Mhm,
what? That's what they're there for. They're there
mhm,
to protect against the tyranny of the presidency and the federal government.
mhm.
That's what the National Guard is for. They are a well-regulated militia. There
Yeah,
are
they have an
other
armory.
militias.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they have an
look,
armory, they have training, they have standards, they have regulations,
yeah, you
you
don't
know?
bring your gun home. You put it in a centralized location. You have to check it out. You actually have to fill out a fucking form every time you do, too, and
Mhm,
sign it and have the person who's checking it out to you sign it. And then when you get it back, when you bring it back in, they give you that form and they keep a copy and they sign it and you sign it saying, yep, I turned in my weapon. I cleaned my weapon. It was checked by the armorer. They said it was secure and safe and not loaded.
and heaven forbid they give you that stupid bayonet and you lose it,
Oh
you
my
know?
Heaven forbid, yeah, they give you any sort of attachment to your weapon,
No,
and it's like, "Oh, where'd the bolt go to this tiny little weapon
right.
thing that I gave you that's for not for what you use, but is really for a long gun from Vietnam? Like the M16 might fit it, but you have an M4, so that's not really the same."
We had one company commander when I was in my unit that just loved to issue bayonets when we would
Oh my God.
go to the
Why?
range. Because he's like, "Well, you're gonna carry this to the time of war, so you gotta make sure
Oh,
you know where to put it." I think I lost it, like, twice and somebody found it. I got lucky because it's like, there's nowhere to put the damn thing, right?
no, they don't
You
put a
know?
bayonet holder on the front of your
No!
weapon anymore.
This isn't World War II. I mean, you could put it on there, but there's nothing on your LBV or anything you can
Yeah, you
put.
gotta put an extra pocket holder in like, I had a knife with me, but I didn't carry a fucking
Well, the damn
bayonet.
thing's not good for anything except stabbing, so you can't it's like trying to open an MRE, you're like,
Yeah,
"Yeah,
you're
it's
gonna cut yourself.
yeah."
You can't cut a steak with it, so what the fuck is it good
I
for?
literally had a punch stagger that was better for opening an MRE. It's like you pull it out, you just go zoop, and there it is. It's open. You know? And it's like,
God, I don't
I
miss
had a
those.
staff sergeant. Did I? Oh man, I guess we got time. You want to? We'll do some story time, right?
Yeah, hell yeah, we're here because we're talking about an issue and it's gotten us into some good points.
I'll tell you, this is the kind of Marine I was, and why I was surprised when they promoted me to corporal because I was an all the way pain in the ass, right? Because I was 20 years old, and I knew more than your average 20-year-old, but I didn't know when to shut my mouth, like I kind of do now, kind of.
Yeah, kinda.
Oh, I had this punch stagger, because it's like it was back like we bought a bunch of knives, right? So I had like the Leatherman, I had
Mhm.
that, and then I had a punch dagger and I had a K bar, right?
Everybody
And
had a K-bar.
everybody had K bar. Oh, K bars are great. Like it's like it's one of the best knives you'll ever have,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And so I had a K bar, and I had the punch dagger because I watched Platoon a lot, right? And so I had to have it, right? So I put up. It was on my left side. Okay, I'm a right-handed shooter, so
Mhm.
weapon goes to my right shoulder. And I had one of these like uh you know tight ass staff sergeants that's just like he was sick one day, right? Had his like a freaking bronchitis, right?
Yeah.
And he's just snorting and he's all, I said, I'm talking about, hey, Staff Sergeant, how you doing? And he's like, well, I'm not doing too good, blah, blah, blah. I said, are you taking antibiotics? He says, antibiotics makes you weak. It's designed to make your system not be able to combat disease. He's that guy, right?
Mm,
It's like, okay,
yeah.
I guess you're gonna let that freaking, sinus infection, that bronchitis spread to your brain and kill your ass, but when you could have just taken some antibiotics, you freaking moron, right? But I digress. So I'm in the line. We were at 29 stumps, 29 palms, and we're getting weapons issued, right? And I'm a small gunner at this point. We were getting ready to go on a live fire exercise. I was going to get to bust the bunker, So it's like,
Yeah.
they're going to give me a live round. I'm going to get to bust the bunker. Like, I'm looking forward to it, right? Like big time. It's like, all right. So we're going up. And yeah, Staff Sergeant comes, looks at me. He sees my LBV. And there's my freaking punch dagger. And he gives me the once over. And I was like, shoot, man, here it comes. He going to say something, right? He goes, Lance Corporal Pogue, what's that you got over there on your EBV? And I said, or LBV, your load bearing vest, right? I said, well, Staff Sergeant, that's a a small dagger, colloquially referred to as a punch dagger. Huh? Is that proper issue for Lance Corporal? Did the United States Marine Corps issue you your punch dagger? Because you know where this is going. You
Yeah.
know where it's going, right? And I know where it's going. At 20 years old as Lance Corporal, E3 in the Marine Corps. Okay. I said, but I got to be a smartass, and you'll see where it's going. I said, no, they didn't, Staff Sergeant, just like they didn't issue me my Leatherman or my K-bar. Right. So now he's
Smart
trying to
ass.
he switches it because he wants to teach me something, right? So this is how he goes. Let me ask you a question, Lance Corporal. Are you a right-handed shooter or are you a left-handed shooter? I said, well, I'm a right-handed shooter, Staff Sergeant. I shot expert. Because I'm being sassy at this point, right? You know, and he goes, well, let me ask you a question. So, as a right-handed shooter, the buttstock of your M16 goes into your right shoulder. I said, it would, Staff Sergeant, if I carried the M16, but as you know, I'm a 0351, so I carried the small. So the small would rest, yes, on my right shoulder. He goes, what would have happened if the enemy shot you in the right shoulder and you were disabled and you could no longer use your right arm? And so then you were forced to put your weapon system in your left side, or say a rifle from a fallen Marine on your left shoulder. And so I say, then your punch dagger's in your way, isn't it, Lance Corporal? I said, so you're saying my entire right arm is immobilized, like it's either shot off or it's done, right? And he says, that's correct. Wouldn't your aim be thrown off? I said, well, in that case, since I'm shooting with one arm and I'm having catastrophic blood loss and I'm in danger of either going into shock or passing out and possibly bleeding out and dying, and I can't use my right arm to stable the weapon system in my left shoulder, I got to be honest with you, Staff Sergeant, I think a punch dagger missing my aim up would be the least of my worries at that point. He looked at me and got so freaking mad. He goes, just take the goddamn punch dagger off your LBV. I was like, all right, Staff Sergeant.
Shut up. Shut up, Lance Corporal. You're an asshole. I don't know what to do.
You can see I was perennially in trouble. Like I got,
yeah.
yeah, because I was that Marine, right? I always had to I had to say something back. I wasn't
Yeah.
smart enough to just shut. I wasn't smart enough to go, you got it, Staff Sergeant, and just save myself a whole bunch of grief. No. No, I had to make you earn it. I had to make you work for it.
Work for it.
I wanted to make you order me to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like walking towards officers to make them salute back. I'm going to get
Yes.
back to that. Sin asked in the chat because she dropped in late to give any updates if we have any on Fort Stewart. So I'm going to look, I pulled up some of the most recent updates They're not putting a ton of information out right now, which is totally fine and probably good.
Yeah.
What they have identified is that the suspected shooter was a soldier themselves,
Yeah, I figured.
which we figured that you're either on base as a soldier or as a contractor for the base.
Yep.
Um, and they have that person in has been apprehended. So there's no longer an active shooter threat. There were 5 soldiers who were shot. They have
I mean,
not
if it's
put out very much information about the soldiers who were shot, in terms of what their statuses are, which is probably good. I hope that they keep that information quiet until their families have been identified and been provided the time and information to go and see their loved ones, because to me that's HIPAA information and you shouldn't be, it doesn't matter if they're soldiers, we shouldn't be
no.
talking about it unless the families say it's okay to say further at this point. um, and that's okay, because it's really about the gun and
I
the
mean, if you wanted to,
sickness behind it.
yeah, if you really wanted to guess, I'm thinking it's probably he was either the butt of the joke in the unit and he just got tired and you know one wrong move, had a, and there it is, or somebody was having sex with somebody's spouse. You know,
Mhm.
um,
Yep.
not,
And they haven't really provided any information, and I'm not really looking about the person's name. I hope they don't provide the shooter's name, to be honest. In fact, I
I
think
don't want
that's
him
something
to.
in fact, that's something I think they should start doing, is not providing shooters' names and identifications. I know they won't, because the whole point of this regime is propaganda and inciting
No,
anger and violence and trying to bring about additional rage. So they're going to put out any information they can, as long as it's not about a white guy who happens to be, say, a MAGA. But for us, that's not important, because
no.
5 soldiers were shot today. 5 soldiers were shot because somebody else decided to unsafely handle a weapon, who
Well,
was trained with that weapon too.
and here's where I get to be a dick, and I'm going to be a dick on this one. Right?
Yeah.
Is who shut down mental health and suicide hotline at the VA? What
Fucking
are
Doug
the
Collins
what
and
are the
Trump.
mental health services for this soldier on that base?
Hmm.
Where are they? What is there a stigma still to this day in the military that my sister went through, that I went through, that you probably know went through, of soldiers who are in need and are in a crisis that they can reach out to and they can go to safely and not be abused for?
Whatever that crisis is,
Whatever it
whatever that
is.
crisis. Because also we have to remember too now, who's the SecDef, who's the Secretary of Defense,
Yeah.
who also happens to be a philanderer and a abuser.
Mhm.
Like, we have sharp programs in the military, which are the sexual harassment and assault prevention programs. They are meant to stop people from, they're meant to teach you good behavior, like what to do and how to report it properly, and how to trigger reporting properly safely for the person who is victimized, so that they don't become a target. But we we just did away with all those safeties,
They're gone.
all the ways that we protect people who need it. Like, maybe this person needed help, who shot these people. I'm going to bet you they did. I'm going to bet you
Yeah.
this individual, I'm going to say guy, because I'm assuming it's a male,
Yeah.
but I'm not, and I don't
Well,
want to say that they are.
men in America commit 85% of the crime, so
Yeah. So
safe bet.
it's, and I can probably safely guess that they were white, because about 85% of the crime that's committed by men is also committed by white men. Um, and it tends to be very violent crime when they
Yeah.
do it. Um, and so whoever this person may be, they probably fucking needed help, and they've been told their entire lives that getting help
And
is weak and bad and makes you not a man, or makes you a woman in
and
some
it's
way,
even
or it's
worse for women in the
derogatory.
military. It's
And it's
even worse
worse
for
for
women.
women. And
It
it's
is
worse,
way worse. Way, way worse for women in
because
the
who are
military.
you going to tell as a woman if your power structure is all men who don't believe you, who aren't going to believe you. Like their power structure, women have no power structure that they can go to in the military on average that believes them, let
Yep.
alone men coming and telling that they've been abused, which happens so far too often in the military for anybody's liking. But women never talk about it either. And when they do, they're victimized further because they're never taken care of in the right way.
I'll tell you,
And
I'll give you a little bit about it, and it's
Mhm,
not close to this, right? When I was in AA and I worked in Philadelphia, um, I had a buddy of mine that I met at DCA.
mhm,
His, my buddy Joe Dancy. Joe's the greatest, like, he's an awesome dude, amazing guy.
yeah,
You know, like always had a smile on his face, always just like upbeat, great dude. And we met at DCA. He went up to Philly because that's where he was from. Transferred up there, get on mainline. Went there, told him I was up there. He was the first guy to take me out in Philadelphia. Right,
yeah,
good friends. I was a manager, and then he eventually became manager. Right, I was busy. This is right before Christmas. Right, and I was like, man, hey, well, let's catch up after we come back. Da da da. You know, and you know, it's Christmas Day, and somebody calls me from work, and I'm like, God damn, man, I don't talk to this dude. So I let it go to voicemail. And the text is like, hey man, call me back. It's about Joe. I was like, all right. So I called him back. He said, hey man, Joe died. Now Joe was 34. And I was like, what do you mean he died? He said, yeah, man, he was with his girl and he just said, I don't feel so good. And he fell over. And so what had happened was he'd had a heart attack years earlier and he didn't know what it was. Right. It was like bad ingestion, they said, and it weakened one of his valves. And so he was just a ticking time bomb because he liked to work out like really, really hard. So it was just
yeah,
one of those genetic defects, right?
mhm,
This is why I say people need help. So I come back after this. I get in a meeting and we all had like a group meeting, right? So it's all these managers in my team. We're sitting around and I hadn't processed this yet. And one of the managers who we didn't really get along starts talking shit about my section, right? And normally it'd be like, yeah, I'll take care of it or blah, blah, blah. That day I wasn't having it.
yeah,
I stood up and I'm like gesturing, like the Marine DI came out of me, the knife hands coming out. I'm like running up down the road. And I was like, if you come in my section, I'll beat your fucking ass, you piece of shit. Da, da, da. I mean, just completely unprofessional.
yeah,
Like, I storm out of the room, slam the fucking door. I'm heading my section. I'm like ready to rip the world in half. You know what I mean?
mhm,
And my duty manager comes up to me. He goes, Fred, and I'm ready to give him some too. You know, I'm ready to just unleash, baby. I want it all. Give me all the smoke. Let's go.
yeah,
He stops me. He goes, Fred, and I was like, yeah, what's going on? And he's like, this is about Joe, isn't it? I just started crying, like
mhm,
instant waterworks.
mhm,
Broke down and cried right there. And they're like, hey man, do you need to get some help? Do you need like we've got a psychiatrist, somebody to talk to. I bawled for like 15 minutes,
mhm,
you know?
and you needed it.
Yeah, because that was the first meeting back and Joe's not there.
Mhm,
Now I don't know what this man went through to do this thing that he did. I don't know what this shooter was going through. I don't know what kind of person he was, right? All I can tell you is that these services, these things for people that are trained to commit acts of violence as part of their trade, that are under tremendous pressure, you know, that are
or underpaid,
underpaid,
undercared for.
yeah, but in this toxic culture that has not changed,
Nope, it's gotten worse.
it's gotten absolutely worse, you know, and then we wonder why they snap.
Hmm.
when there's no resources for them to go to. There's no culture that says, hey, let's this is going on. Let's handle it. Like, hey, come, like you can come. My sister, man, she's a West Point graduate. You know, they found this
Smart
is
as shit is what she is.
yeah, man. So this was '05. She's in Hawaii. This is during the global war on terror, right?
Yeah.
She's in an air conditioned office. It's a cake assignment, right? Air conditioning. Those contractors do all the work. She's just there to like monitor the work.
Hmm.
Had a commanding officer that didn't like her. My sister had been sexually assaulted a couple years prior, so she's unpacking it. Right, took the time to go see a psychiatrist. Right, the reason my sister got out of the military on a medical was because her command was trying to use her going to a psychiatrist to get her out. Now this is
Which
a
is
West Point.
illegal.
Yeah, this is a West Pointer. This is our tax dollars, yours and mine, paid for her education, paid for
Best
her.
and the brightest of the
Yeah,
Army's leaders.
paid for her education. A woman who ultimately earned 2 master's degrees, a leader, a certificate, a graduate certificate from Notre Dame, was in the President Management, a PMF, the President Management Fellowship in the federal government after West Point. Right? I mean, you talk about it, all this stuff. And because she went and saw a psychiatrist and she was talking through these problems, well, she's clearly not fit to lead. She can't be it was officially said, you're not a capable officer for the GWAT.
And that right there is why soldiers or service members in general don't go and get the help they need because it's still so demonized. Like
Mhm.
when I was in, if you went to sick call in the morning, people made fun of you half the time. And like, why are you so weak? What are you fucking doing at sick call? Like, oh, your knee hurts or your back hurts. Like mine does too. I've been doing this for 20 years. Yeah, then go to fucking sick call and get seen so that it's recorded and reported. And so when you get out, you can actually report your injuries correctly and you can get service connected disabilities because staff sergeant, whatever your fucking name is, or sergeant first class, whatever the fuck your name is. I might be younger than you, but I sure as hell ain't gonna look and act like you when I'm your age. And now I'm suffering consequences of my own actions at points too. Like
It,
I'm in a
it,
lot of pain every day because of shit that I
it,
didn't get seen. And
same.
this all leads back to mental health though.
It
Is
took,
the
it
took
took me
forever.
20 years to even get issues I had that were well documented
Hmm.
in my service record book. Busted knees, busted back, even just as a reservist that I messed
Yeah.
up on training accidents. Right. It took me, and again, I remember when I first saw there was a guy. So I bought him down. I wrote about it, and I what saved my life was they had the little check boxes like, do you have thoughts of killing yourself? Yeah, I
Hmm.
checked it. I was like, yeah, I think about dying every day. It ain't shit. It's like, are you actively planning on it? No, I just don't want to be here no more. Right. And so, I went and saw my therapist at the VA. This guy was a tanker, right? He was, and lost a freaking kidney,
Mm.
to like the burn pit stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I was deployed like 3 times. And here I am a reservist, right? And I told him, I said, bro, I feel like he's like, why haven't you like, why did you wait so long? And I was like, man, I feel like the biggest piece of shit. I mean, here, like this is supposed to be for you guys. It's not supposed to be for me. I'm supposed to be able to hack it.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not you. I didn't have burn pit stuff. I didn't get deployed. I didn't do any of that, man. Like and he says, yeah, but I said, this space needs to be for somebody else. He goes, yeah, but those guys aren't showing up. You are. So I'm here to help you. and that's it. And that's the stigma of it,
Hmm.
right? My pain, I should be that was and I had that for the longest time. I should be able to hack it.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
something wrong and I'm failing. I'm a piece of shit because I can't hack it.
Yeah. And it's such a pervasively evil mentality that
Mhm.
that is, because all it is saying that is your only value is how much pro- production you can make. Like how efficient you can be to produce something for somebody else is your only value, your intrinsic value. So you can't stop. You can't stop working. You can't stop being a soldier. If you're going in to get checked for health, that's bad. Like you're weak, you're falling behind, you're letting your friends, your soldiers, your battle buddies down. That's a stigma, is you're letting your battle buddies down. Somehow by going to see mental health, we have convinced ourselves, because which is something that we were in the middle of a really incredible revolution towards, was the millennials and younger we're incredibly open about our mental health. We talk about it all the time. Like people my generation and younger, pretty much what we talk about. We talk about mental health every single day because we've been gaslit since we were teenagers. I was in middle school when the towers fell. I watched the fucking thing on TV. My brother went to war. Like he signed up when I was 4 and went to war. And I saw my older brother go to war multiple times. And he's one of the reasons I ended up joining the army after college, like because I wanted to sort of follow in his footsteps. And he went to multiple times and is fucked up because of it. He's messed up because of it. But you know what he did? You know what my brother did? Because we had a mom who was a psychologist, or we have a mom who is a psychologist, and he came home and he got help every single time. He went and talked to a therapist every single time he came back from a deployment. Every single time. Because he was messed up and he knew it. And he didn't let that stigma let him slow him down. And you know what it didn't do? It didn't stop him from going back to war. It helped him go back multiple times to protect his fellow service members. It helped him go and continue forward now, like to
Yep.
still be here now. It's it's something that's a huge issue, and we need to break that fucking stigma that going to see a therapist, especially in the military, is a bad thing. And we need to stop punishing people who do go, because those are the people who really need the help and want the help. And when they ask for the help and we tell them no, shit like this does happen. Like this is a result. I'm not saying this person was in any way, shape, or form, but shit
We
like
don't
this
know.
happens
We don't know.
because of things like this. Like we've
Yeah.
seen past events enough in our lifetimes now to know that when you have unchecked mental health issues, you're more likely to shoot somebody, yourself included. And because of the pervasiveness of guns in in our country and the culture that guns are fucking normal on everything, like your Christmas card has guns on it. That's not fucking normal. That's a mental health issue. That's an
I
issue.
and it's my both my parents hated. I mean, it was part of that stigma, right? I think my dad was undiagnosed bipolar because he have wild mood swings,
Hmm.
all this other stuff. My mom, I think, is my mom's borderline personality disorder that she never got help for. She was assaulted when she was younger, right? Um, my sister was, which she told me about years later. I was molested when I was 5 years old, you know, and so I came from a place where, you know, like my idea of mental health was you just need to get tougher. You need to get
Hmm.
tougher, right? You're not tough enough. You need to get tougher. And there's a place for that suck it up, right? For
Yeah.
yeah, there's a place like if you're trying to complete a task or you're going through a short-term thing that's very hard, right? It's like, yo, man, just freaking dig deep and push forward. right?
Yeah, because adversity teaches, but it's not
Right.
always,
But
it doesn't have to
yeah,
be there all the time.
but where I lost my marriage was because of this, right?
Mm.
You know, my ex-wife told me fairly that I felt more like your mother than your wife because I wasn't getting help. I would keep it internalized or I'd suck it up and I'd go and I'd go and I'd go until I collapsed, right? And then I would
Yep.
lash out or I'd blame somebody else or, and then like, and that cycle kept repeating because I kept thinking like, no, 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 this is a failure on my part. I need to get to where I can just eat it and conquer it.
Yeah. But no,
And
you don't need to get to that point.
no, you don't. And so it wasn't until I said, it's like, hey man, like there's gonna be times where you're at your limit and you go, okay, I gotta get help. I gotta call my therapist or I gotta talk this through or I gotta take a step back, you know. And the thing is, it's this pervasivity among my generation, right? Among Gen X and older. I mean, there's women now are talking about they're 35 years and older are saying they're doing better dating younger men because they're more emotionally available. And I understand that because
Yeah.
I wasn't,
Yeah.
because it's like, look, if you if you were breaking down and crying, you were failing as a man. If you were letting something bother you, you were failing as a man. It like, you know, all you had as a man was just duty and obligations, and that's it. But nobody can, like to your point about production, nobody can function like that because human beings are not supposed to function like that.
No,
You know,
they're not.
and we got conditioned somewhere along the way, to fit in this box to, make our trauma as like a freaking trophy, and it's not. Our toxicity as something to be lauded, and it's not. It's like it's okay to say, "Hey, man, this is kicking my ass, and I need to step back. I need some time." But we also have to allow organizations, especially in the military, to create those spaces for people to do that.
Yes.
Because if you're going to get penalized for seeking help, which you need,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
what,
What are we doing? Like,
and
why?
and it's and this leads to and it leads to all this other madness, right?
Mhm.
You know,
Like,
and
we talk about a male loneliness epidemic in this country, and it's a self-made epidemic in
yeah,
many ways. Um, and so I'm not blaming anybody else outside of the males who made their own loneliness. Is we bought into this bullshit, and I say we because even I bought into pieces of it throughout
I did
my
too.
life, and I'm still
Oh yeah,
buying into pieces of it. It's the whole idea that men part of our protecting is we have to be the head of household in some way, and we either have to be the one who makes more money or we have to provide. We have to provide at all times. Well, providing, and I've learned this real quick, is or real recently, doesn't always mean being the one who has to take on the world. Like, it's okay to lay down your burdens and talk to other people
yeah,
and tell people them because then they understand and they can help you and they can work with you instead of guessing or not ever knowing. And um and it's like, we need to break through this stigma finally, and we need to start getting more people engaged in talking about this and forcing big, like big subscription profiles, big names that reach out to them. Tell them to talk about this. Tell them to talk about gun violence and mental health and the impacts of taking away services from the VA, taking away the mental health service, shutting down the mental health crisis line that you can call. Can't
yeah,
call that shit anymore because they're shutting it. Well, you won't be able to soon because they're shutting it down. The National Suicide Prevention Crisis Hotline basically is getting shut down for service members, and that's fucking horrendous.
Yep.
And that is leading to gun deaths. That is
And
leading to people
it's
killing
gonna lead to
people.
other violence. It's gonna lead to violence against women. It's gonna lead to violence against children, right?
Yep.
Especially when you view it as, you know, women are supposed to be my peace, right? They're supposed
Yeah,
to be.
especially when you have that ownership control.
Yeah, that all yeah, and so you get that where you're just, "Oh, a woman's supposed to be my piece," or "She's the prize," or this or that. It's like it's a thing there to serve you, and when she turns out to be a human being, and she turns out to have wants and desires and feelings and, agency all on her own, and that doesn't jive with you, and all because the only thing that you're told is acceptable as a response is anger. It's calmness or anger, that's it, that's all you get as a
That's
man.
all the church, and let's say that's all the church teaches you,
Yeah,
because a
it's
lot of times
calmness
that is.
or anger. And honestly, most men are not calm.
No.
Most of the time, they're just angry and aggressive.
Yeah, mostly it's
And
just
that,
reserved anger.
right. And then where does that go? It
Yeah.
goes on to the people that are considered less than or people that are considered vulnerable.
Yeah. Because
That's
we're told,
how children get abused, and that's how women get abused, and that's how people who are otherized get abused, you know. And
because
so
we're told we have to own it. And we fucking do. We pretend that we have to be these fake ass masculine men all the time. Guess what? That just leads to anger. Just leads to anger and resentment. And anger and resentment lead to depression. And that just goes down and down and down until you start either shoot yourself, shoot somebody else, abuse people, hurt people, lash out. And we don't have the words to talk about them. We don't teach men in general. We don't teach men and boys how to talk about the words that they need to express themselves
Yep.
in a vocal way, to say, hey, I'm hurting. My I am going through this and I feel alone and isolated and in need. A lot of men don't know those words
Yeah.
as emotions or as an emotional trigger, and they don't ever say them. And it's crazy that we have to teach men, adult men, these words instead of doing things like shooting people.
Yeah.
Like, that is the thing. And I hate it. And I fucking want people to just learn how to talk to each other. Like, stop holding it in, guys. Guys, it's okay. Whoever told you that you have to hold this shit in all the time is wrong. Whoever
Yeah.
told you that lied to you. They lied to you, and it's okay. You don't even have to admit that you were wrong. You weren't wrong for being lied to and believing that lie. They were wrong for teaching it to you. It's okay to unlearn bad habits and replace them with good ones.
And
A
it's
good
okay.
habit,
Listen, it's okay if you're feeling angry, you're feeling scared, you feel.
yeah,
It is not okay to unleash that on someone else.
exactly.
You
We all
know,
feel anger. We all
yeah,
feel isolated. We all feel alone.
yeah,
There's been times that I wanted to be gone, that I wanted to die, that if I had the access to a firearm, I may have been one of those victims, but
yeah.
I'm not, because I
That's
don't
why I
put
don't have one.
myself in. Yeah, that's why I don't own a pistol. I don't own a handgun for a reason, because
Yep.
it's an accessible way that somebody it would get hurt. And that's not an acceptable thing to me. Is I don't accept the risk of hurting myself, my family, my neighbors, or anybody else just to have that weapon. Just to
Yep.
say that I have one. Like, I don't, it's my manhood isn't defined by the size of my gun or the height of my truck.
Yeah.
Like, that's not who I am as a man. And that doesn't need to be who other men are either. Like,
No.
it's okay if you have guns. Like, cool, man. Go learn how to hunt. Go be a safe, productive gun owner. But go get some fucking mental health and talk to people.
Because what you want, if you want that, if you want a woman to be more than a thing,
Hmm.
you want her to be a human being and you want her to love you and you want to have that deep, intimate relationship, you got to work on this shit.
Yeah.
Because these are going to be the barriers that keep you from that deeper, intimate, loving relationship that you really want, right?
Trust me, as someone who's been married for over a decade now, for just over a decade now, if you learn to talk and to emote in a, which means let out your emotions and speak them, to emote.
Mm.
It's okay to do those things as men. Like, it's okay. And in fact, it's really encouraged. And I'll give my own example of I worked like 80 plus hours a week for a couple months straight, like every fucking week. But what I did was I isolated myself internally and I told myself I couldn't tell my wife that I was hurting right now and that I felt I had to do this because I was the only one who could do it. And I thought I had to have the entire weight. And if I didn't work this hard and I lost my job, we would lose everything. And I didn't tell her any of that shit. That was like a year ago, not even. Finally told her. You know what happened? All that stress came off. All that stress came off my shoulders. And I was like, wow, I'm not alone. And my wife was like, thank you for telling me. I needed to hear that because I thought you were pushing me away. I thought you were mad at me. It wasn't her I was angry at. It wasn't her and the world I was mad at. It was my work. It was my job. And I couldn't express it because I just decided I had to hold it in for no fucking reason other than I thought it was manly.
Yeah,
But you
because
know what's more
you're not
manly?
supposed to burden somebody else. You're not supposed to,
Yeah. I
you know.
thought I was a burden. I thought I was a burden, and I still do. That's a big thing that a lot of us fight with
Yeah.
is we think we're burdens to other people. You're not a fucking burden for existing. You're not a burden for asking for help. You're not a burden when you ask for support because that's why you have friends and family. They offer themselves to help you. If you ask your friends and family for help, they will give you that help because that's what friends and family do. That's what real friends and family do is they protect and they help those around them by offering care.
Yeah.
And therapy is there for a reason. It's a survival thing.
Yeah,
And I
it is.
saw a little bit of somebody saying I for their survival is I'll read through this. Hold on. Is yeah, it's therapy helps you as a person if you're a survivor of trauma
Mhm.
and issues, but it also helps you if you are the one perpetrating those issues. Because if you are willing to go in and just ask for a little bit of help and say, I know I'm doing these things and they're hurting other people. How do I stop? Or how can I change?
Yeah.
That person's going to change. That person, because they want to change, but they don't come to that conclusion unless they've been welcomed in to know that there is a space for them to do that. Uh, so you have to be able to, we have to be able to open space for ourselves and we have to be able to open space to show that other men can do it too. Like
Yeah.
say the words and just do the thing. It's easy once you do it the first time. Once you, for the first time, go to therapy, it's easy to go back. It's easy to go back
It
to therapy.
gets,
I
yeah,
fucking love my therapist.
it
He and I
gets
bullshit all the time.
it gets, yeah, it gets easier over time, dude. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, and
And not
you
every,
get I mean, you get more I got more reflective as I went through it, right? Like,
yeah.
the first couple times was really hard, but it made me think about things, it's like, all right, well, stuff I hadn't considered or, you know, directions I could take. And look, it's hard. I mean, this stuff isn't easy, especially if you've gone through decades of trauma, you know?
Hmm.
And I mean, I have dark thoughts about unaliving myself at least once a week, maybe twice. I'm
Hmm.
on meds and it's just a lot of that is because I get overwhelmed or I mess something up or I'm not carrying out what I should or should not do. Like the toxicity stuff is, man, it's hard to shake. You know,
Internalized misogyny.
yeah, I mean it's hard to shake.
Yep.
And because some of it has gotten me through some really tough times, man. I mean, like aggression. and yeah, yeah, it's gotten me success in certain ways. It's like going out and, hitting people in the mouth, in a business
Hmm.
sense or a writing sense or whatever. It's like, let's get into it, man. But it's not going to get you success in every arena, and it's not a panacea. It's not going to be there for you every time. And
Yeah.
what it has done is it has isolated me. There are leads to things like self-loathing. I'm not
Hmm.
I'm broken. I'm not good enough for people. It's one of the reasons I don't date, you know? Um,
Yeah.
and
I
I
get
mean,
it.
yeah, I mean, even me recently asking a woman out like a few weeks ago was a big step because it's like, I was just like, oh man, I can't date a woman. I'm so fucked up. I don't want to repeat the same mistake I did with my first wife.
Hmm.
So what the hell I mean, I can't tell a new girlfriend like, hey, I want to unalive myself. I think about at least two, 3 times a month. You know, I get depression, I get anxiety. You know, like because again, everybody will say to me, "Oh, I don't understand." I was like, I can't believe you don't have a girlfriend. I can't believe you're not. Oh, wait till you see depressed Fred or anxious Fred
Hmm.
or broken Fred. You know, what do you see
Yeah.
that guy? And then
Yeah.
you'll understand, right?
Yeah.
And that's how. And maybe they don't think that. That's how I think.
Hmm. Because
It's
we see
hard.
ourselves in a way different way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really
Mhm.
hard. And I get it, man. And I mean, I hope you go out and go find someone because
I
why
mean,
not?
one day,
Like,
man. I mean, I still got
you will
one
when you
day.
do. But one of the things too is like, I wanted to jump back just a little is you said something really interesting about like good news. It's like maybe we also can break down the stigma. It's okay to go to a therapist when you get good news too.
Yeah.
If you get really good news and you don't know how to handle or process it, it's okay to go talk to a therapist. It's
Seriously.
okay to talk to a therapist about mundane shit. Like
Yeah.
I half of my therapy appointments with my personal therapist because I go to a group and a private and an individual because I like both. I thought group was going to be awful. Like I do a virtual group therapy and it's amazing through the VA and I have some amazing providers and it's one of the reasons I'm still here and it's one of the reasons I write poetry. Um, but like my individual therapist, half the time we bullshit. We talk about mundane things because it's not always about big breakthroughs. Sometimes it's just about talking about your day or your week or a single big win that you had during a month. Like if you're depressed and you're having a really hard time, find one win. Find one thing that you know that you've won at like that you were doing that you consider a win for yourself, be it get out of bed or eat 3 meals a day, or you finish that project at work that you didn't think you were going to get done, whatever it is, or you played with your kid, or you had the strength to go and even play video games because you were like, ah, this feels like a waste of time and I'm a waste of time, so I'm not going to do that. Like whatever it is, give yourself props and give yourself the good feeling. And
Mhm.
then if you don't know how to handle those good feelings because somebody's told you it's not okay to have them, go talk to somebody because it's okay.
Yeah.
Um, it's okay to have those feelings, and we need to start building each other up, especially as men. Is building each other up in ways that are encouraging and are breaking down the stereotype of these hateful things. Um, but we've gone for a while, Fred, and I'm going to get back to because I got to go. We got some stuff to do this afternoon.
Do it.
But I wanted to hop on and talk through some of the stuff that had happened today because of the shooting. Um, I'm going to look up one last time before we go if there has been um, any final last updates. It doesn't look like really anything other than they've been apprehended and we'll find out more as they get more information out. So keep up on your news. Do not let yourself buy into the propaganda and
No.
the sensationalism of these events, like we're mad, but talk about it. Like talk about what's important about them is that there are needed gun safety changes that have to happen. We need to talk about mental health and how they're taking away those services, not just from veterans, but from everyone, because
Yeah,
the cuts to Medicare and Medicaid are going to lead to increased suicides and deaths and gun violence.
they
And
are.
we have to talk about it. People have to be brave to talk about it. So keep talking and don't stop because it's important and because our lives matter and your life matters. Um,
100%.
so, Fred, any closing words from you before we go today, brother?
No, I think you said it. You said it best, bro. I got it. I mean, yeah. I would have said the same thing. I'll,
All
you know,
right. Well, thanks for coming on with me. Y'all, everyone, thanks for the incredibly active chat as always. And to everyone who's here, thanks for joining. Please be smart out there, be safe, go get some help if you need it. It's okay. And let's go have a great afternoon. Thanks, y'all. Thanks, Fred.
hey, appreciate it. Have a good one.